Hey everyone. Anybody watching this later is going to be bored. Anybody watching this now, hopefully we can interact a little bit while I'm cleaning up. Okay. Get you up here. I don't know who's going to join us today. It's the middle of the day, so I happen to be off today, but as it turns out, I'm actually on tomorrow morning. But I'm hoping to do a little bit of milling tomorrow. So I don't know who's going to join here. Turn down the volume. Hey. So I'm just going to clean up. I happen to come down here, my day off. Do a little clean up. Kind of time, you know, because of that. 3 people. We're going to get 3 people today. That's awesome. Who's here? Why did that? Doesn't matter. What's this? This is a piston pin bearing for the 262. Now it's extra parts. Where'd my Pampers box go? Come on. Yeah, right there. Couldn't see it. Doing cleanup. Anybody else here? While you guys can chat, I'm literally just doing a little bit of organization and cleanup because we need it. I'm trying to wind down these saw builds here. And $394 cabers. 5 people. Nobody wants to chat? Nobody wants to say hi to me? I have a whole bunch of goodies coming. I think the postal holiday, because of the presidential death, messed up the post a bit. So we're having trouble getting stuff. But I've got goodies coming that'll help us put these 394s together. That's for sure. Right, I know what I was supposed to do today. I was going to consider going down to my folks. I got to worry about the tools, see what's going on with them, because I was supposed to get them or have them done today, which would be awesome. Yeah. Who knows, though? Oh, I forgot that. I knew I forgot something. Yeah, I think I'm going to do some milling probably tomorrow. I've got a 42-inch bar on the way here. It's supposed to be here today. Got it off of a guy at Arborist site. 42-inch bar. and a chain that hopefully has some life left, but the combo was like $95 shipped, so that's going to be good for milling. One of the issues that I had with milling was I had a 36-inch bar, and I had a 36-inch Grandberg style Chinese mill that I got from HL Supply. But based on how you clamp it, out of a 36-inch bar, you're only going to get 26 inches wide for the slab. So you have to kind of need an excessively long bar in order to get all 36 inches. So 36 is an extra 6. So I might get 30 wide maybe out of the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know if I need the 30, but having the extra definitely helps. Hey, there's Casey. I'm literally just cleaning up around the shop here, trying to get some stuff off the benches. Try to make some more room for finishing up these projects here. But had an email from Nikki Walsh the other day, and I don't know if Nikki's on. Is Nikki on? Only 3 guys here, so I doubt it. But it wasn't an email; it was a comment in another thing. But Nikki pointed out the topic of burnout, and I think it's a good topic because, you know, where am I going to take all of this? How much more am I going to do? And the answer is I don't know. I'm going to really try not to take on more work as far as more projects go for a bit. So I won't have a whole lot to share with you guys other than to hang out every once in a while. So that's kind of not necessarily what I would ideally like, but I think that's going to be reality because I've got tons of other stuff I do need to focus on here at the house as opposed to on these saws, and I've got more and more and more work coming, and yeah, I'm working tomorrow morning. Now we're down to 2. Working tomorrow morning, which I guess I should have expected, but wasn't. It didn't matter. So I'm working tomorrow, which is good. Have to be thankful for that. And what else? Hang on, I got something here to. What the heck is that? Put this in my thing here. Hang on a second. I think that's a scam. Yuck. Okay, don't like that stuff. Okay, go back to YouTube here. Hang out with you guys. Dude West is here. Okay, great. Good morning. And Ken's here. And the answer is I'm literally just cleaning up. But I wanted to bring up what Nikki brought up the other day, which was Nikki Walsh wanted me to not burn out, because I guess he and I'm hopeful that other people are enjoying what we're doing here. I think it's unfortunate that there aren't more channels like this, but who knows? Anyway, I guess Nikki was expressing concern that, you know, I'd burn out, and I think he's got a point, and not because I don't like hanging out with you guys, but hang on, hit play again. Not because I don't like hanging out with you guys, but because my life is changing with all of the work that I'm going to be doing as a dentist, hopefully. So there's kind of all of that going on, and I wish I could spend more time with you guys going forward, but I'm just not sure. So right now I'm not planning on taking on more projects. I'm not planning on taking on more saws because it's just too much for me. I've got other things I need to focus on. So I don't know I just don't know how many saws I'm going to be working on going forward, and I don't know if the other projects I'm going to be doing are going to be YouTube worthy, you know. But what I could focus on is I have taken a bunch of other videos. Oh, Ken, here. You know what I'm going to do? This. I know you're going to yell at me. Ta-da! Now I can hang it up. Where am I going to hang it up? Up under here is fine. There. So, anyway, I just don't know how much I'm going to be doing. John! Good to see you. We have bigger ones for the wall. Well, actually, you know, I probably could have just taped it up here somewhere, but whatever. John, how's Bev? Everything good? So I'm literally just cleaning up today. Wanted to have a kind of informal talk with where I think I'm going with the channel. And the answer is I just don't have that much time, so I'm a little worried about it. And it's not really so much burnout, but as just a lack of time. Which sucks, but that's kind of the way that it is for me right now. Take these and put them in my 394 box over here. Very slowly, I'm going to do some cleanup here today. Life is good, still riding motorcycles, stinking cold. Yeah, it's cold here too. Somewhere low 30s today, I think, is going to be the high. Which means it's nice being here in the basement. Nothing wrong with that. So much stuff. Too much stuff. So if anybody wants to ask questions, they want to hang out, whatever, you're welcome to do that. I don't have any project that I'm specifically working on today. I need to go down to my folks and do some machining on the other 394 to deck the crankcase there, so that needs to be done. I know that. 14 degrees in Idaho, yeah. That sounds about right. Cold. Ah, I heard the pop. Gotta get rid of all that magnesium too. I got all kinds of magnesium crankcases that are all shot. So much scrap, so much stuff. And so many little projects I just don't have ambition for. So is everybody at work? You hanging out? Are you at home? What are you guys doing? I just wanted to hang out with you guys for a little bit while I'm down here in the basement, and gives me something to do. Guys, give me a few minutes. I'll be right back. Talk amongst, you guys can chat. That's fine. I'll be right back. $14 is cold, yeah. Okay, so what am I doing? It's just too much stuff to do, Too much stuff. This I messed up. Dum-dum, dum-dum. Really got to start cleaning up this desk. If you guys can see, bring it over here. Not much room on it. Dan Mill Bob, what's going on? Good morning. I'm with the youngest daycare. Daycare teacher off today. Yeah, okay. I'm here just off. The kids are at school. And I really don't know how much I may end up taking on more work. Who knows? It's possible. Pretty tired last night after I came home. All kinds of goodies on the bench here. Yeah, Casey, I hear you. I really do. I was definitely enjoying the time off. There's no question about it. While I was out of work, I was much more free to do what I wanted down here. Could certainly argue that I probably shouldn't have been down here, but should have been doing other stuff. But you know, I certainly try to take advantage of the time off and relax some. And I think it was good. But now it's a matter of getting back to work, and I gotta get serious, you know. At least a little bit serious. Yeah, Bob, I like to tell people my folks have 5 garage bays and not a car in one of them. You know, it's just the way some people's reality goes. Not saying that I would have a car in mine, you know, if I had that. It's just that's again reality for a lot of people. Well, a lot of it is just the ambition to clean up. You know, it's just not there, and it certainly helps if the skills are there too. But for the most part, I've found it's just having the ambition to clean up. I don't know if I'm gonna get this decompression valve back to where it's smooth. I'll throw it out. Brandon, will I be live tonight? I don't know. Maybe. I'm live now. Doesn't that count for something? Go do some errands, dude. That's fine. I'm just here hanging out. I wanted to chat with you guys just a little bit and let you know what status was. And so if you want to hang out, fine. If you got stuff to do, I understand. It's all good. I'm not even sure what I'm going to be doing here, so this is a brand new decompression valve. I think I was missing one on one of my saws. I'm still waiting for them to come into stock at HL Supply. also waiting for them to stock at HL Supply is the 36-inch Tsujihara lightweight bars. Then I'll pick up one of those. That'll be my my Christmas present to myself. And I need a new straight nose cone here. Storage rental box. Storage rental in the box. Future can fill with the wife's stuff leaving out of the garage. Hey, as soon as you have storage, it tends to fill up. I know that's definitely the way for me. My dad built a barn and it was nearly instantly full. Put Midivac away, at least for a little bit. Somebody had been commenting on that. Big fire, she goes crazy looking for stuff after fire. See, Bob, that's the beauty of other people's relationships. Somebody else's relationship, somebody else's problems. We all seem to have them. A 441 fuel tank. No, I do not know of such an item. I assume, since the 441s have the name steel on them, they're worth a pile of gold. Although, you know, Casey, you might want to send a message to Walt on a Fleet Command, because I know that he's built them. So he might have a tank in his junk pile. It's possible. I'm just not super excited about that saw, so I don't maintain parts for it, you know. It's a flywheel side seal for a 385, 390. Will I ever use it? Who knows? Is there a stick that can be used? String trimmer line? The solid string trimmer line supposedly can be used. Gotta find a spot for those. I'm gonna put them on the other desk, the other bench, and deal with them later. Great tactic, Matt. All right. See, what we do is we play musical benches. Here we move stuff from one bench to another you know, and it might disappear between the one and the other. Then it's gone. You don't have to worry about it. I have a crack down the fuel tank through down the seam. Yeah, you know, I've never really had good luck with repairing fuel tanks. I've tried. Some guys do, but you know, it's probably just not worth it. I mean, because it's hours to spend. You gotta do the heat and make sure that all is sealed, and then you have to pressure test it. And then more heat and pressure test and more heat and pressure test, and it's just I don't know. To me I spent 2 hours on it one time trying to get it a small hole, not even a big one, a small hole, and it was just not happening. So if you got a crack down the center, I would personally try to get a new tank. Just think, those things get dropped, they get tossed, they get all that stuff, and there's a lot of forces there. I think these rings were fairly well shot. You can try all kinds of stuff, but again, just think about the abuse that these things take and realize that whatever repair you do just isn't going to be super awesome. John, it sounds like you need a saw project. That's what it sounds like. And that 200T piston is shot, but I think this one will be okay. So I would get a new tank. Kind of sucks, but if you're looking for a best price on new tank, check out SLE Equipment and see what they have for a price compared to, say, Jack Small Engines. I'm sure the 385 tanks are not cheap, and they don't have any aftermarket support. So you're kind of stuck buying OEM, which isn't a bad thing. It's just you're going to pay for it. I'm going to dump that in the ultrasonic. Bad vent. Throw that away. Stuff in a baggie, right? For 200T. That's why I say baggies. literally like every part that's still good, save. It just makes a whole lot of sense and takes up just small amounts of room overall. John, what trouble did you have with the parts kits? Because the nice thing about the 660 kits is they're fairly well documented now. The 200T kits that are coming out, just what I've read and seen, I'm really not sure that it's worth it as compared to buying a used 200T if you get it for a good price and then putting parts into it. You still end up at the $500 mark pretty much no matter what you do. So I'm just going to take care of that. I seen a guy that rebuilt motorcycles for a living, had a nice gun that he used to put plastics weld. Yeah, looked like a weld when it was done. Some guys can do it, but if you're talking about a gas tank and you're talking about a tank that literally gets set down on the ground, kaboom. So if you're counting on a plastic weld there, I just, I've seen it work, but always leery about it. And John, I've been down to like the dealers, and they're like, I went to one place, a Husky dealer, and they literally told me, they're like, yeah, those saws aren't worth anything, we just throw them in the garbage. I'm like, they're worth nothing. And they're like, yeah, they're literally worth nothing. I'm like, there's no single part on those saws that has any value. That's right. Okay, and I left. I went to another place the other day, and I asked, and they said, yeah, they don't last long, or we throw them out type of thing. I'm like, okay. So most of the dealers, unless you have an in with them, they're just not going to be willing to play ball. It's just not worth their time. The 440 kit took a lot of work. I can understand that, John. The thing with the Huzzle, whatever it is, the thing with the Chinese customer no service is that personally, I don't expect any customer service from them. I really don't. If I'm ordering something, I basically expect zero service, because what are you realistically going to do? Ship it back and forth? I mean, nobody makes out there. So, and it takes 2 weeks. It's just so stupid. So, for the most part, if I'm ordering from them, I get what I get, type of thing. Whatever they happen to throw in the box, I'm not going to be complaining too much about, because what are they realistically going to do? And if I got to wait another 2 weeks for something, I'm going to get pretty frustrated. So I generally look at it as if, I get what I get, and that's it. The 440 kit, for me, the issue was simply putting the crankcase together. At the end, it was the crank was too short, and the whole reason was they actually put in too thick of a bearing. If you get bearings from HL Supply, you get the cross bearings. They are actually OEM spec, and they're 9 millimeters wide instead of 10. So you get that 1 extra millimeter makes a difference by the time you get to the end that you've built the clutch and the drum and all that stuff. You finally get to the end, and you can actually fit the E-clip on comfortably, as opposed to having the bearing that came with the chassis. That bearing is too thick. The inner race is too thick. It takes up too much space on the crank. So I tried that numerous times, putting that together, pulling it apart, all that stuff. I did all kinds of stuff there to try to figure out what was going on. And that took up like all kinds of time. And my 660 runs good too. I'm definitely happy with it. I don't have any complaints about it at this point. I'll tell you, especially after putting in the OEM control switch or whatever that was, the OEM multifunction switch there, and the OEM throttle trigger, that made a considerable difference in the feel, the whole feel of that switch. Alright, what am I going to do with this stinking thing? I got to go get something. I got to go get a fitting for there so I can actually fit it onto some other type of control, I guess. Maybe if I'm using this, a foot control is solenoid on off. Interesting. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this away for now. Yes, go to the shop, John. That's good. I approve. So, wait a minute. We have 9 people here? Who else is here? Who else showed up? Because we're just hanging out today. Right, I can't fit this in there because of that. So, I guess... I guess I can throw this out because it's not going to fit. Now, I'm sure as heck not taking this apart. Will it fall? Trying. Maybe it won't fall. Okay. Are dental tools the only option? No. CC Specialty makes very nice hand pieces that will work ideally for porting. They make them specifically for 2-cycle porting, and they fit into very small places. But CC Specialty tools are quite pricey. So, but I'm pretty sure really the professional porters, that's what they do. That's what they use. Is CC Specialty. Body shop of stitch welders for urethane bumpers doesn't work, and injected molded plastics. Yeah. Again, you're also again back to the plastics. You're talking about something that takes an impact. It's a seam that takes an impact, and because you're going to put that down, and you're not going to do it gentle sometimes. Sometimes it's not going to be a gentle on the grass, you know. It's going to be a toss or whatever, because that's just what saws endure. So just keep that in mind when you're making repairs to things, is you got to be robust. Hey, I'm starting to be able to move a little bit here. This is good. Hopefully I hear from my machinist today and he tells me, hey, come get your stuff, because that would be really good. Right, this is 385. That. It's my nice microphone, which really don't want to mess up. Of course, I don't even know where my GoPro is. Hopefully it's upstairs. Haven't used my GoPro much because I've been doing all this live stuff, so kind of waste of a GoPro, if you ask me. That's power over there. I guess we could do plumber's putty here. People want to see what I do for the crankcases. So this is one of the 395 crankcases. Built this the other night. But it needs to be decked by 35 thousandths. So in order to do that, I like to stuff some Kleenexes down in here to take up some of the space. Remember, if we're going to mill this, you got to make sure that you don't get pieces down in here. And plumber's putty or Play-Doh work perfectly for this. And I hit it some WD-40. That way it doesn't stick too much. A little bit more. Kind of bed the whole thing down in it, and then now that's ready to go. Stick that on the Bridgeport, and it'll be good. What do you think? Good? Good. Okay. So, down to 4 people. What happened? Everybody left? Nobody wants to hang out? That's okay. I'm not insulted. Not a very exciting day. Although I do have all this stuff over here to sort through, which is kind of tossed a lot of it over here. Looks like 372 stuff. Kind of screwed up. Don't really need that. I'm not going to sort through all these stupid things. See, that's different. Got all the old shingles from the house on it. Ooh. Heavy and yucky, huh? I think it actually snowed last night just a little bit. Didn't get home till like 10 o'clock. Had to go out to... Went out to a doctor dinner last night. Had a good time. Dr. Dinner. $3.72. These two are indeed different. 1, 2, 3, different. Those I think can go to $3.94. The Peterson T-handle Allen sets. You mean the Pittsburgh ones? The ones from Harbor Freight? Seem to be okay. At least for what I'm doing. I haven't had any trouble with them. I think it's really held up pretty well considering how much use it's gotten. $3.72, $3.72, $3.72. Actually, let's see. Did somebody texting me here? Oh. No, it wouldn't be on this one. It would be on this one. Right. Sorry. So yeah, so I think they're fine. For the money, they're hard to beat. They were really inexpensive. I forget how much, but it was really reasonable. Certainly one of the things that's so tempting about the Chinese stuff is that, I mean, the cost of the Chinese parts, what you and I pay for them, actually starts to be reasonable when you're rebuilding a chainsaw, because you know, the big companies have priced themselves right out of the market, and they have themselves to blame for that, you know. Steel and Husky priced themselves out of the market. So what were they thinking? That, you know, that there's a vacuum there, that nobody would occupy the vacuum? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But they really don't want to be in the parts business. So I think what they're counting on is that their stuff is high enough quality that people will ignore the aftermarket, but it's just too tempting. At the prices that the aftermarket is charging, it simply is too tempting to do, you know? So by the time you actually use all the parts and everything, between your time and the cost parts, the Chinese saw, or the Chinese parts, basically make it financially feasible to put the saw together. Whether it'll last or not, that's a different story. But the cost effectiveness is really starting to get there. But with anything else, with the OEM parts, that's why they show you the new saw rack. It's because the cost effectiveness is not there to buy a $40 bearing, you know. You could buy car bearings for $40. You know, wheel bearings. They might not be good ones, but you know, if you're looking for a wheel bearing for a car, you can get it for $40. So, I think aftermarket parts is a great topic. I really do. And I hugely blame the big companies for pricing themselves out of it and for the development of all these Chinese parts. I think that was their mistake. Starting to move better here. This is good. No, the handle, I mean, I've put pretty good torque on the handles and they seem to be alright. The metal integrity seems to be fine. The 4mm I use the most. I have a message from my neighbor here. Okay. Right, yeah, but that, you know, that's always the problem when shopping. Period. I actually had a guy come in. This was good. This is a great story. I had a guy come into the bicycle shop. When I was selling bicycles, and this is just one of the most unbelievable stories ever. And I was pretty young, and I was still just as dumbfounded then as I am now. But so the guy came in, and he was looking for a bicycle, I guess, and if I remember right, it was, you know, our price on the bike was $350, or, you know, whatever it was, right? And the gist of it was, he actually told me, because I told him, you know, look, if you want to shop around, that's up to you, but this is what it is here, you know? And then he actually told me, he says, well, who's going to compensate me for my time? So he wanted us to be responsible, to held responsible for him shopping around. How am I supposed to explain that to somebody and say, no, shopping around is your responsibility. That is on you, and that is always why you have to be careful spending too much time shopping around. It's important to get the best price. You are obligated to yourself to get the best price, but you're also obligated to yourself to make the decision as to whether or not your time is worth more than finding the differential of a couple of bucks. And yes, retailers do count on that, you know, to a certain extent. Pretty much anybody that's selling anything is trying to get the most money for it. And that's just the way markets go, is if you're selling, you want to sell as high as possible and make the most money. And there are certain people that will come in and pay just about anything for anything because their time is worth more than the whole shopping around thing. Now, there's plenty of people out there, too, that have nothing better to do than shop around for the best price. Go to 15 stores and find the best price out of all of them, you know, and spend tons of time doing it, but you got the best price at the end of the day. Well, you know, if you got that kind of time, good luck and God bless. I just don't see how it's an individual retailer's responsibility to compensate you for your time. That doesn't make any sense in any world. So, bringing it back around to the aftermarket parts, yeah, you have to decide whether or not it's worth it to buy certain aftermarket parts, and some parts are pretty well flushed out as being okay parts, and other parts are not. Um, you know, you have to say, okay, are Chinese bearings worth it? I wouldn't go with Chinese bearings if I had a choice. I would probably go with OEM bearings. On the 660, the PTO bearing was already integrated into the case. Do I really want to go down to steel and spend another 40 bucks, 50 bucks, whatever it might be for that stupid bearing? Nah, probably not. I'll take my chance, you know? The flywheel side bearing is a regular 6203. Maybe it makes sense to change that out. So at least you have a Japanese bearing there, and then the PTO bearing, which is kind of the more important one, but that one's Chinese, but oh well, you know. So you start to weigh things, and that's always, you know, always individual responsibility is to weigh risk-benefit. How am I supposed to explain that any better than that, you know? Okay. Vermont machinist labor, cost of materials, Chinese and Japanese put them out of business. But the price savings won the war, of course. Shopping around is a big advantage. Word moves quick on the street. Well, yeah, you're right. So today we have a fancy thing called the internet, and word gets around pretty quickly about certain things. Sometimes the price wars still win out. I heard of things like, used to be, if there were two competing airlines at an airport, one airline would just drop their prices so low that the other airline couldn't possibly contend with it, and you'd chase that one airline out of that airport. Now you have the other airline who, you know, sucked it up for years, maybe. It didn't make any money, but now they have a monopoly, and now they can charge whatever they want. So there's all kinds of techniques in business, and for me, I'll just stick to teeth. We are most definitely getting somewhere here. So yeah, so you're right. You know, I think big advantage of OEM is you have, at least with chainsaws, you have much more assurance that the part is going to be reasonably made. It's not always the case, but with chainsaws, you have a pretty good idea that you're not going to be wasting your time to try to install the part. It's a 372 top. Just don't remember which saw it went to. Someday I'll go through my bucket of goodies here. 394, 394, 394. Where's my 394 bag? Any other thoughts you guys have? Directions we can take today? Like I said, just kind of trying to feel a little more free here. No idea what this is. I mean, why would I have a paper clip down here? I don't know. Mess. Alright, I'm going to send these out. Nice part. Get like a little bucket for all of my porting parts here. Should probably at least attempt to throw out more of them. I don't know. How did those end up back there? For new junk. Gotta throw out more stuff, guys. Gotta focus on throwing stuff out, you know? Throw it out, throw it out. Getting there, actually. This is not too bad now. Gonna be done with this in a jiffy. Now, where do I put this? I know where to put that. Just my deburring stuff, obviously. Check this out. You believe this, guys? You see this? See the desk here? Look at this. That's cool. Now what I need, obviously, is another project to mess this all up again. Right? More likely, what I really need is to sand this bench down again and recoat it. Whatever seems to work for now, I guess. This was white at one time. I know. Whoever came up with the idea to make a white bench. I think it's the paint I had at the time. And I coated it with polyacrylic as opposed to polyurethane. Polyacrylic is actually water soluble, so it goes okay with latex paints. You can just put it right over the paint. Got us cleaning it good. My house is a mess, Bob, so it really is. That's cool. That's something else. Found a Woodruff key. Let's do that. My Q-tips here. William Eisen, welcome. I'm literally just cleaning up. That's what I'm doing today. And we're hanging out, and I'm cleaning up, and more hanging out, and more cleaning up. Pretty much it. I finally got my bench here a little better cleaned off. Not too often that you see my bench fairly clear. I mean, as most of you guys know, I usually work on this thing here, but instead of on the bench, shouldn't do more work on the bench, of course. But it always seems to be occupied with junk. So, William, I was talking earlier about, I had a comment from Nikki Walsh, and I don't know if Nikki came on yet, but I had a comment from Nikki Walsh earlier, and the comment was in reference to me burning out, and I think he was trying to communicate that he really appreciated me doing this, and there are probably not too many other guys that are doing anything remotely close to this. You know, just informal type sessions, and he was kind of worried that I was going to burn out. And I mean, it's, I suppose, a legitimate concern. But I don't think it's a matter of burnout. I think it's just a matter of me having not enough time to do this. I think that's where this is all going to go. As opposed to me getting sick and tired of this, which I can't see me getting tired of this. It's just a matter of me having to change some priorities in my life and going a different direction. And I just don't know. I just don't know where we're going to go, you know? Yeah, I've got a 5-year-old and an almost 8-year-old. Megan will be 8 next week. So it's probably an old receipt. Guess I don't need that. Certainly one of my catch-all bins here. That bucket. Ah, dear. Yeah, we've been having some cleaning ladies come in Mondays. By Tuesday, the place is wrecked. You know, it looks pretty good on Monday, but by Tuesday, it's like, what was the point? Kind of frustrating, really. Well, William, one of the things is, it's not a matter of coming on every night. It's a matter of I don't have cool projects, you know, and it's not because I don't want to have cool projects. If I want a cool project, I can just go buy one, you know. I can just keep spending money and buying part saws. I mean, that's not a problem. I can just keep doing 372s and 394s and 346 XPs and 200Ts and just keep doing all that stuff. You know, maybe a Chinese kit here or there. But I really don't have the time for it. I've got other stuff I've got to be doing, and truth be told, even if I'm doing a commissioned build, it's no matter how much I charge, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So if I was to charge, enough to make it worth it, then it would be completely cost prohibitive for anybody to buy a saw from me. And that's just the reality of it. So it's not like I don't like doing stuff. I do. I like all the problem solving, and I like hanging out with you guys. But I just don't have... I'm not going to have enough interesting content to keep everybody interested, That's one thing that I'm certainly concerned about. And like if some of you guys wanted to send in saws, for me to work on, that's great. But again, I just don't have the time. So I can't take on more builds. And then the next problem is I've really got to work on other stuff on the house and on the shed. I've got to get stuff there done so that the house looks nicer and that we come closer to finishing the shed. So I've got all that to do. And I'm just not sure that any of that stuff really is YouTube worthy. Does that make sense? It's one thing if I was working on my Volvo, maybe something like there might be worthy. Greg Beeman. Hi, Matt. Newer to saws. Worked on a seized MS-180. Got it to run, but rev high and then bog. Greg, what's the compression? Do you have a compression tester? I would say, do you have a compression tester? That's one. Number two, did you put a new top end on it? What was the original diagnosis? Why did it seize? All that stuff. Guy at Steel Dealer said it was okay. Okay. I don't know what to say to that other than define okay. But why did it seize? That was the question. And then what was done to it after it seized? Screw from the choke plate was sucked into the engine. Yikes. Okay. So did you replace the bearings and seals and everything in there? Just put her back together. Okay. So whatever internal damage is in the motor needs to be investigated, for sure. Like, if a screw goes into a motor that's running at 13,000 RPM, there's going to be some damage in there somewhere. Whether to the crank bearings, needle bearings, anything that's in there, you got to investigate. Did you put a new carburetor on it? What was the pressure test? Did you pressure test it after? That type of stuff. It gouged the lower cylinder. Okay. Um, if you've done a pressure test and the main seals are okay, then you're most likely back, and you have good compression, then you're basically back to fuel and spark. So fuel, spark, and possibly timing. Um, if there's a screw in there, it's did you check the flywheel key? Did the flywheel key shear? Is it delivering good fuel? Do you have a new fuel line? Do you have a new fuel filter? Um, if you have a saw that bogs overall, it's usually a fuel delivery problem, or it's an ignition problem. So if you hit the gas and it bogs, then it's a matter of the carburetor is somehow not delivering enough fuel most of the time. That's what that is. So if it's not the carburetor, then you have to start looking at, if you put a brand new carburetor on it, it's still bogging. Is the fuel filter clogged? That's always possible. Fuel line, fuel filter, simple stuff like that. On a 180, I'm not familiar with the 180s. You have to forgive me, but is the impulse line okay? Are you getting fuel? Because an impulse line is the pulse that sends effectively the signal to the carburetor to pump fuel. So if the impulse line is cracked or something for whatever reason, then you're going to get symptoms like that too. It sounds like it's not getting fuel, but I would take the fly with a piece of debris in the motor. Take the flywheel off and just check and make sure the key is not sheared. I have a video on pressure testing crankcases, um, but it's not on the 180 specifically. In general, the problem with the Steel 180 is that new, they aren't much money, and so you have to really question yourself when you're rebuilding something like that and say, is it worth it? They're just not tons of money to buy brand new and with a warranty. So, at least for me, I look at stuff like that and say, is it really worth it to put time and effort into that type of saw? Some saws are definitely worth it, right? So there are plenty of chainsaws that are absolutely worth putting piles and piles of time and money into, but usually the MS 180 is just so incredibly common and pretty inexpensive from a steel dealer. Good place to start learning? Well, maybe. Again, I'm not with. I couldn't say that it's a good one to learn on. Um, Personally, I think the Husqvarna 350s. I mean, if you look at the rest of my videos, I think the Husky 350s are a really great spot to learn on because that can be an absolutely amazing saw when it's done properly, when it's fully done up. It really is an absolutely amazing runner, and you can also do a lot more with it. The design of the motor is such that you can fiddle with that thing like crazy, and tweak its mind out as long as uh, as long as you can and if you fiddle with it and tweak it and you don't like it, just get another cylinder head or whatever. Again, you're not talking about lots of money. So one of the things with working with certain saws is that you can get frustrated in a hurry, and you just say, "Oh heck with this," and then you're out completely. So you got to be careful about that. When I was starting doing saws, I actually started with the Husqvarna 455 Ranchers, and basically I said to myself, I was just like, damn it, I got to get this. I got to figure this out. I got to get this, and and I'm still in the process of understanding saws many years later. Um, I every time I think I've got pretty good understanding of what's going on, there's some dumb thing that throws me for a loop. So, uh, yeah, I mean, I hope that helps at least a little bit. Don't get too discouraged. Matt, offhand, you know the line of saws that carry the same lower end of the 350 size saws. Yeah, essentially it's the 340, 345, and 350 are all the same, pretty much the same gas tank, same chassis, the only same crank, same bearings. Some of the differences, and there's they just messed everybody up with all the different cylinder heads that they used. It was kind of crazy, but on some of them, the bearing cap is integral to the head. Others, the bearing cap is separate. So the 350 has a separate bearing cap and separate head on top of that. So you have a plastic bottom end, a bearing cap that goes over the bearings. That all gets sealed down on the Husky 350, and then the cylinder head goes on top of it. On the 340s, the 340s actually had a head with the bearing cap integral to it, so the whole thing got seated. And I really don't like that design, but that's the way that they did it. And if you want to change over, you want to upgrade to the 350 stuff, it's really simple. You just get a bearing cap and a 350 top end. You stick it right on there. And then there's the 345 in the middle. So that potentially had like the open port cylinders, which absolutely can run. But if you want to upgrade, you put a 350 top end on it, or if you want to go full bore, just put a 346 top end on it, and then you have the ultimate performance in that package. And a brand new OEM cylinder head's $110 or something like that, shipped from Spike 60. So yeah, the 359 is a completely different chassis. 359 and 357 is the next size up chassis. So you go from 40 to 50 cc to 50 to 60 cc with the 357 and 359. So it's a bump up. It uses a lot of the same parts, but both the 357 and 359 are the same chassis, magnesium chassis, professional grade saws. The 359 is a pseudo open port cylinder head design. The 357 XP is the full bore quad port closed port cylinder heads. So the 357 is the more generally considered the more performance out of the two, but you can still get a 359 to run really darn good. Yeah, Bob, best of luck with that. If you're grab that group, the thing is, a lot of people sell them. They think they're worth gold. I would just ask Ken. He's dealing with that now. Those saws are not gold. Okay, and here's why. When you go to look at any of those, at any of the lineup, you have to check and make sure it's got a metal intake clamp. If it doesn't have a metal intake clamp, you know you're taking the top end off automatically. And in reality, most people's time isn't worth that. But if there's a seller and they're trying to sell something and it's got the plastic intake clamp and they're like, it runs good, and you're like, great, runs good. But oh, by the way, in 2006 or whatever it was, there was a technical service bulletin that said, by the way, you got to upgrade to the plastic. You got to upgrade the plastic intake clamp to metal and upgrade the partition as well, so you can make that upgrade. And in order to do that, you have to pull the head. You can't leave the head on. You have to pull the head. So, unless you're adept at pulling a cylinder head, and of course my videos show you how to do that, but unless you're adept at pulling a cylinder head, a shop would charge an extraordinary amount of money to do that. So in reality, these saws are worth good money once they are properly rebuilt and restored. But until then, they're part saws. So you pay whatever you think is appropriate for a part saw. I would not, whether they're running or not, good compression or not, is irrelevant. They are going to blow up on you at any second if you leave that plastic clamp there. It's just a known thing. And I know that people have them run for years, but still, it's a known thing. Get rid of that plastic intake clamp. Yeah, but even saws that are completely blown up, people want $250 for it. It's like, what? Come on, no. If you want, and in reality, if you pick up one of these part saws and you want to get $250 out of it, I'm not saying you can't. It's just that it's worth that as individual parts. Maybe if you're throwing the individual parts on eBay, it is entirely possible you can glean that kind of money out of it. But you have to take, this goes back to the time. You have to take the time to list all that stuff on eBay and pray that it sells. So if you're listing a parts bundle, it's not going to be worth as much. If you're listing them individually, it's going to be worth quite a bit. Yeah, blown up 346 XPs, 357s, 359s, they're worth $50 all day long. I mean, that's no problem at all. Probably even $100, assuming the plastics are pretty nice, is not out of the question. And William, I think Greg did say that he had a new carburetor on the thing. Anywho, what else? This makes me feel better. This is not perfect, but it makes me feel better. Yeah, so if it's brand new carburetor, odds are it's not the carburetor. So you have to start looking elsewhere. Sheared flywheel key, new fuel line, new filter, impulse line, that type of thing. A rip in the boot, do a pressure test, seals, all that stuff. Yeah, I love straight gas saws. I know exactly what's wrong with them. Can't believe there are 10 people here hanging out just watching me clean up. Actually, let me vacuum this really quick. Junk, junk, junk. There. Can I recommend a decent compression tester? Mine's okay. This is, what's this, the Accutron? Didn't even say on it. Looks like this. But that's a compression tester, not a pressure tester, okay? If you're pressure testing, you can look up my other videos on actually how to pressure test crankcases. The 180 might be a little bit tricky to do, but if you're trying to test the seals, then that's the thing you really want to do. You want to check and see that the seals are good. Sometimes it's just easy to change out the darn seals. Now, the MS-180, again, I'm not familiar with, so I don't know how easy it is to change out the crank seals. They may be integral with the clamshell or something like that, and it may be a little harder to do. Bob, make sure you share the love, okay? If you got saws, let me know. I can't take on more projects. I can't do it. I can't do it. I would love to. Can't do it. Frustrating. Back over here. There. Goes there. Yeah, I know. It's what it is. It's addictive. Yeah, Greg, I'll offer you best of luck on that, man. I don't have a 180 video, so I have a hard time speaking to it, other than theoretically. Figure out what to do with all these darn boxes. That's garbage. probably should do is keep my 394 stuff close here, because that's what I'm going to be building next, right? Makes sense. And where did my other 394 box go? No. Yes. This one's Huggies. Okay. A lot of guys find me all kinds of different ways, but I just hope I can keep up the content and keep up the interest, but I don't know. I really don't know, guys, you know? Yeah, I do like my 394s. I really do. They're just fun. Fun. All right, you know, guys, I better run. I got stuff I got to do today, including, yeah, I got stuff I got to do. So, I did want to hang out with you guys for a bit. So I appreciate those people that have hung out. That's awesome. If anybody has any comments or questions, they can always email me. I have the tools update is simply that I'm waiting on my machinist to ship me the stuff or get me the rods or whatever. If I got to drive down tonight to go get them, I'll go do that. But I'm just waiting on the M14 and some of the 661 rods. As soon as I get them, I'll be shipping. I've got a bunch of names I already have to ship to. So anyway, hope all is well with everybody. Be safe, guys. Thank you for everybody that's been very supportive. I do appreciate that. And we're looking forward to working on these 394s one of these days. I don't know if I'll come on later. If I have something interesting, I might. If not, then I might just chill out because I am working tomorrow morning. Okay. Catch you guys later. Thank you so much. Really, I appreciate it. Thank you. Take care, everybody.